What's going on, Jerome's? Raw, real, audio, rant. If only there was a name for a podcast that is only audio. Who knows? Yeah. Anyways, but the Minnesota Vikings finally taking the offensive line seriously. Notably the interior offensive line this offseason. And it was really smart because uncharacteristically, after the Rams playoff alleged loss, Kevin O'Connell was like, we need to improve the interior offensive line. And Kwesi got after things, right? And we've seen this before. Not only just the Vikings, but teams in general, where they'll pay lip service. They'll talk about the obvious points that every single fan with two eyeballs and two brain cells can point out. It's like, oh, the Vikings need to fix interior offensive line. Because Sam Darnold literally got pressured on 80% of his dropbacks and was sacked nine times in the playoff win. Ain't going to happen with anyone, right? You could have prime Tom Brady or Joe Montana back there, and that dog wasn't going to hunt. Nah, it was just not going to be good. And, a lot of teams will just pay lip service, and then they just run it back. Oh, Ed Ingram will improve in year 4. Oh, Bradbury, this is the year he turns the corner, and all that stuff. But no, I love and adore what the Vikings did. So first off, signing Ryan Kelly, replacing Garrett Bradbury was a smart move. And Kelly, even though he's older, even though he's dealt with injuries, he is certainly an upgrade over Bradbury, both in leadership as well as just anchor. Right, and it's not a shot against Bradbury, but Ryan Kelly has been known as one of the best and just rock solid centers in the league. Right. Also, let's be honest here. A major reason why the Vikings landed Will Fries, a major free agent guard acquisition. There was 5-6 teams in on the Derby after him. The money was similar, but here in the great state of Minnesota, great facilities, treating the players well, always grading out high in the NFLPA report cards. Also, landing his guy Ryan Kelly, that was a major part of it. And if that was part of the thinking, where hey, we obviously love Ryan Kelly, but also if we sign Ryan Kelly, it will increase our chances to get Will Fries, even if it's like a negligible percent. Maybe it's like 1% to 2%. We're still taking that edge. And if that was the actual thinking, I love it, man. That's fantastic. Also, they already have that built-in chemistry over 4 years working together. So Kelly and Fries plop it on in. Brian O'Neill has already talked about. It's like, hey, it's great that they've worked together before. It's really going to help us transition quickly into forming a unit of our own, and it's going to be good. And then you had the draft, right? So Evan and the mom creaming in their jeans. Oh, cornerback. Oh, safety. Oh, whatever. Donovan Jackson was that guy. And you could say that the pick was forced. It wasn't really. It was more a weighing of options where the Vikings certainly could have traded down potentially, right? Maybe they got offered the Giants a trade-up package that the Texans took at 25, which I know a lot of people said, well, the Vikings could have traded down from 24 and took Jackson later. No. Some very needy offensive line teams behind the Vikings, notably the Texans at 25, and also Donovan Jackson, former teammate with C.J. Stroud, was born and raised in Houston, so that was just a 2-foot putt on a flat lie. Like, he was not getting past 25, so just put all of that conjecture to bed, all right? But Jackson, built for outside zone, blocked a lot of power this year as well, rock solid anchor, tackle and guard flexibility, although I feel like that's just more of a nice bonus. You're not going to have him at tackle, right? Because you're rock solid at tackle with O'Neill and Darisaw. And down the line, when it's time to get O'Neill's replacement, you're not going to kick Jackson out to right tackle. You're not going to have him change positions as well as change sides. No, that's ridiculous. But the way that Jackson stepped up in the season last year for the Buckeyes after Simmons went down with that patella injury, it's amazing. And, of course, first game, Happy Valley, whiteout game against Abdul Carter, gave up 2 sacks, but certainly held his own that game. And he gave up 0 goose egg. D'Angelo Russell sacks the rest of the way. I mean, Donovan Jackson's a dude, man. Plus, his interviews, his press conferences, he's got a easygoing demeanor, but on the field, he's nasty. You see that, man, where it's the opposite of little man syndrome, where you got guys like Darisaw, you got guys like O'Neill, you got guys like Jackson, Will Fries as well, where because they're monstrous, they have such a sweet and kind disposition. It's just funny. It's like how large dogs are just chill, where the yippy ones are the chihuahuas, which I don't know. So the wife and I are talking about getting another dog because we had 2 dogs that passed, and I don't know, it was really takes a lot out of you, just having to bury some of your best friends. But I don't know, we're thinking about getting a dog, but we are definitely not getting a Chihuahua because our dog Sammy was just, God love him, but he was like meow, 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 all the time. Anyways, but probably looking at getting like a, I don't know, Labradoodle or something. No, like a yellow lab, something chill. Anyways, but the entire offensive line as a whole, this may be the best Vikings offensive line since 2009. It really is, right? Because the Vikings, not for lack of trying, it's just been a gong show, especially on the interior, right? But now, once Darisaw gets healthy, knocking on all the wood, if this unit can stay together all season, this is easily, on paper, on purpose, a top 5 O-line. I don't know if they're 4 or 5. Might not even be 3, right? Now, obviously, they have to prove it. But also, I know a lot of people pointed out, well, look at the Bears' offensive line. And they got Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson, and then they signed all that money for Drew Dahlman. I prefer the way the Vikings constructed this O-line because it seems like the Bears one is just patchwork, where Dahlman, hey, undersized center who can't really pass block, but he can run block. We've seen that story before. Thuney is, got a couple years left, but is overpaid. Jonah Jackson literally cannot pass block. That's why he was benched with the Rams. I didn't get benched with the Rams. And I prefer the way that the Vikings have gone about it. I mean, Kelly's got a couple good years left, yes, but you're also not overpaying him. Will Fries is going to be a cornerstone of this offensive line for years to come. You could say that it's as big of a free agent deal as Steve Hutchinson, poison pill, coming in from Seattle back in the day. And the Jackson pick is just solid, man. Where maybe people want a more pomp and circumstance around the number 24 pick, don't care. Jackson literally could be the last infinity stone for this offensive line. So Darisaw, Jackson, Kelly, Fries, O'Neal, that's an elite offensive line. And we haven't even talked about the depth because it feels like the Vikings have depth for the first time in forever. So Justin School was a really solid pickup. And I love what Quisenberry did. He's a solid swing backup tackle, but he was definitely longer in the tooth. And School has spot started throughout his career. And he can play both tackle spots, and he's going to be good to go. Walter Rouse is a player that I love and respect a lot. So I think that if they hadn't drafted Jackson, I think that Rouse certainly could have gotten into the left guard competition. But also, given that versatility, I think that he's going to be a plus player in his second year. Also, you have Blake Brandel, last year's incumbent starter, where they signed him to a 3-year deal last off season. The coaching staff, Kwesi and company, they believe in him, and he was really damn good. He graded out as one of the better guards in the league when Darisaw was next to him. But once Darisaw went down, and it was just a whatever, Cam Robinson coming in, trying to learn the new offense on the fly. Brandel and Robinson probably never even met before, and now they have to communicate and deal with twists and games on the edge. It was rough. So, Brandel, his contract is like $2.4 million base, like $1.65 million of his guaranteed. So I think it makes sense to keep him because Brandel also was a solid backup before he got the starting job. So if his ego is fine and he can revert to a backup, still get paid, and back up 4 spots, I think that's a huge get. I think that's huge. But if that's a big ask, though. Like, if you're on your same team, you go from a starter to a backup, that's a big ask. And I know that Brandel's probably a good dude, but, I mean, that's a big hit to the ego. So we'll see what happens there. Juergens, I love a lot, where I think that Juergens potentially could be the heir apparent to Ryan Kelly in a couple seasons. Last year's 7th-round pick out of Wake Forest, got some center and guard flexibility, and he showed well in the preseason game, outside of getting Will Rockard's kick blocked in that one game. But Juergens is basically J.J. McCarthy's center the entire preseason game against the Raiders. Right, I think that Jurgens does have some upside. Henry Bird, that they like a lot. He was on the practice squad all season last year. Look for him to make a push to make the 53. We'll see. Then the third team. So Marcellus Johnson, Leroy Watson were in the sphere last year and then signed to futures contracts. Marcellus Johnson, does he look like? Then I really like the UDFAs. So Zeke Correll, ton of center experience. Also, we just can't get away from an undersized NC State center, can we? Just can't do it. We always have to have one on the rooster, I guess. Joe Huber, they paid a decent chunk as a UDFA, the former Wisconsin Badger. I think that he could be a little something. And then Logan Brown. Logan Brown is unique because he was a Badger, got dismissed from the team for apparently punched a teammate, which I'm kind of okay with. Well, first off, when we dig into that, we need to find out what kind of teammate the other guy was. If he was a douche, that's actually a bonus for Logan Brown. There you go. But 1 year starting at right tackle for the Kansas Jayhawks, and I mean he was a big reason why Devin Neal was out there getting his. And it's good times. And I think Logan Brown, like some people had third, fourth round draft grades on Logan Brown. The fact that the Vikings get him as a UDFA, that's monstrous. So I ain't sleeping on Logan Brown at all. I think that the Vikings have quality and one of the best starting offensive line in the better part of 2 decades for the Vikings. Also, they have legitimate depth. I mean, Brando, like I said, if he wants to stick around, I think that he can be a plus backup. Justin School as a swing tackle. Rouse inside, outside. Jurgens in center. That's your 9 deep right there. That's pretty damn good. Also, the young guys, put Huber and Brown on the practice squad. Maybe Henry Bird. That's really damn good. We're cooking with gas at this point. So we talked about how the offensive line just makes everything easier for everyone else. If you have a good offensive line, you can run the ball. That takes time off the clock. That rests your defense. That sets up play action. That takes pressure off your quarterback. And also, pun intended. And also, if you can obviously pass block, that's better for your quarterback. Right? Operating from a clean pocket, just out there dealing. J.J. McCarthy having a 12-course dinner back there. 12-course omakase menu. Namaste. And then McCarthy's just out there dropping dimes and piss missiles to Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson, oh my. Ty Felton in there as well. Jalen Speedy Naylor. Rondale Moore. Come on, man. And it all starts and ends up front. So I'm glad that the Vikings didn't just pay lip service. It's like, oh, we got to fix the O-line, and then did nothing. But also the fact that Kwesi traded Ed Ingram for a 6 and then traded a 6 for Jordan Mason, basically trading Ed Ingram for Jordan Mason. Let's go, man. So for the first time in forever, the Vikings have quality and quantity up front. It's one of the things I'm looking most forward to for OTAs, mandatory minicamp, as well as obviously training camp. The Minnesota movement, the Minnesota moving company is back. The Great Wall of St. Paul I've seen floated out there, except they don't play in St. Paul. But yeah. Anyways, but this offensive line, we're going to whip somebody's ass. That's right, baby. Anyways, that's it. Raw, real rant. Vikings offensive line. Baby, let's go. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, comment section. You guys are the best you know what to do. Skull, no face.